Hey everybody, welcome to day 26, where we are going to be talking about how to foreshadow our plot twists and our mysteries really very subtly within our stories. If you haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and click it now, and then whatever it is you're drinking today, grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. When I say we're going to do foreshadowing, there are actually a couple different kinds of foreshadowing to take into account, and one of them is more overt foreshadowing. So where it's very clear to your reader that foreshadowing is exactly what you're doing. That would be like if your narrator steps in on page 1 and says, "Hi, I'm Julie, and this is the story of how I died." That is foreshadowing, but it's not necessarily what we're going to be talking about today. I want to focus a lot more on discrete foreshadowing, slipping in clues and slipping in hints for how our mystery is going to resolve and maybe leading towards a plot twist that your reader doesn't see coming. And one giant must-follow rule that you have to adhere to is that your mysteries and your plot twists need to be guessable. Of course, we don't want our readers to guess them, but there have to be enough clues and enough hints that it's possible. Otherwise, we talked a little before about how if we reach the climax of the story and it's not something that your reader could have foreseen at all, they're gonna feel cheated. And it's the same with your plot twists and with your mysteries. There have to be enough clues in there that they could have guessed them. Because of course, the fun of reading a mystery is that you're trying to guess who did it. And so if you get to the end and it turns out it was the dead person's brother, who we have never even met and had no reason to suspect whatsoever, you're gonna feel cheated. It would be the same if we were trying to solve a murder all the way through and we get to the end and we find out it was actually a rare blood disease that killed her. Something we absolutely couldn't have foreseen. We have no idea, because we don't have PhDs in medical science, what the symptoms for that would have been. That's another way to feel cheated as well, because we didn't have the right clues or the right information to know what to look for. And we also don't want to get to the end of the book and have 3 possible suspects who might have committed the murder, and one of them just steps forward and confesses, and we never find out how those clues went together to solve that mystery. There was never an actual solution to the puzzle. It just ended flatly with a confession that came out of nowhere. All of these are very important to avoid, and so we're going to talk about some of the ways that we can slip clues in and hints about our plot twists and our mystery solutions. Because of course we don't want the reader to guess the solution, but we do want them to get to the end of the book, be totally surprised, but look back and say, "Oh, I should have seen that coming," or go reread the book and see 100 different clues that were sprinkled in and just be doing this the whole time, saying, "I can't believe I missed it. It was right there in front of me." So I have 2 best practices that I want to share with you for how to keep readers from guessing the end of your book. And the first one is something that I like to call using stealthy clues. And then the second one is to use really strong red herrings throughout your book as well. So what I mean by stealthy clues is that it's information that is included in a way that people don't realize is a clue. So I'll use my books as an example, because in my first book, it's a big mystery as you try to figure out who your 2 main characters are. You're kind of trying to solve both of their identities at the same time. And there's a conversation, because they're also, they're at war with monsters, so they're trying to figure out how to kill the monsters. And in the course of this conversation, somebody says they are really hard to kill. Like, you can't cut them, you can barely hurt them at all, they heal if you do hurt them. They go on to list all the ways that the monsters are so hard to kill. But there is a little piece of information in there that you don't realize was actually a hint and a clue towards something later, and that is the part that they can heal. So throughout the course of the story, there is a character in their party who seems to heal themselves really, really fast. And so I call that a stealthy clue, because you have that information. You know that these monsters heal really fast. And if you think about it, there is somebody among them who is also healing really fast. But it's stealthy because those 2 things were not presented at the same time. It would have been way more obvious if one of the characters was like, "Whoa, you seem to heal really quick. Did you know the monsters can do that too?" That would have been like, "Oh, this person is clearly some sort of a traitor, like somebody who's working with the monsters." But because that clue was slipped in during the conversation of how to kill them, it didn't even come across as something that was being given as a hint. It just seemed like something that was part of information for a different part of the story. So to do stealthy clues really well, all you have to do is make sure that the hint you are giving is serving a completely different purpose, so that it makes sense that they're giving it and your reader doesn't pick it out and say, "Okay, that looks suspicious. That's gonna come up later." Because readers are very good at picking out clues, and so you want to hide them. You want to disguise them as information that's relevant towards something else in the story. And then the second best practice is to use really good, strong red herrings. So if you aren't familiar with that term, it just means like a big distraction. So like, don't guess at these clues, pay attention to this. This would be like, in Harry Potter, when you always think Snape is the bad guy, so you don't even look twice at Professor Quirrell because you think Snape is the bad guy. That is the perfect red herring. But red herrings can also be done really subtly and in ways that are not just, look at this character, he's the bad guy. So in my first book, and sorry if you haven't read them, I'm just gonna keep spoiling things. I told you that you're trying to solve the identity really of both of your main characters. And my red herring is that there are also two very extremely magical people who are about to be revealed in the world, and we don't know who they are. And so that honestly was my red herring, is that everybody is trying to figure out, okay, these are my two mystery main characters. They have got to be the two new magical people, but you're kind of trying to figure it out because one of them is supposed to be a monster, one of them is supposed to be a human, and they're like the strongest people there are, so they almost fit. But there's just something that doesn't quite fit. They just aren't quite the two right people. And so you're trying to like fit this square peg into a round hole and figure out how these two people are the main characters and are these super magical. They're called epics. And it turns out they are nowhere close to epics. And that 100% was my red herring. I never ever said that either of them were going to be these magical epics. But because there were two mystery characters and there's almost like two mystery openings for characters, people were just trying to figure out how they were going to fit. And so nobody saw coming who exactly they actually were going to be. So I just want you guys to remember, if you have a plot twist or if you have a mystery that's being solved, you definitely have to have enough clues that your reader could guess it, but you want to use stealthy clues and you want to use those red herrings in a really strong way so that your reader doesn't guess it, so that they get to the end and say, oh my gosh, can't believe I missed it. And then they want to go back and reread the book to see all of the clues that they missed. So if you guys have a mystery or a plot twist, kind of take a good look at your outline and see where those clues are sprinkled in and see if there's a way that you can make them a little bit more stealthy so that your reader doesn't recognize them, and also make sure that you have enough so that when they get to the ending, they're really surprised and it's really impactful. So I'm gonna jump off and do this too. I've got a lot of twists and turns that are coming up in this story, so I'm gonna go through and examine all of my hints and clues and see if I can make them maybe a little bit more stealthy or maybe a little bit more misleading. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and click it now, and I will see you guys tomorrow for day 27 of the 60-day novel writing challenge.